Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. This is Josh with the morning show, and sitting here with Sarah Duke, our Vice President of Media. How's it going, Sarah?
Hey, good morning. It is wonderful. Can't believe it's Wednesday. We were just talking about it. It's mid-January. Off with a vengeance. So here we go, boys and girls.
It's going to be a nice couple days, and then, of course, massive freezing over the weekend. You ready for that?
No, I'm already cold, and it's in the 50s. I'm so ready for spring and summer. Can't the snow stay in the mountains?
No.
Skiers, snowboarders. I don't want it here.
You're born and raised. Come on.
Yeah, and I'm tired of it.
Fair enough. Well, we have a very special guest in the studio today with Cyber Tech Connection is the company. It is Dave Jooste. How's it going, Dave?
Good, and yourself. It's such an awesome time to be here.
Yeah, no, it's a great time. We thank you very much for coming into the studio. Yeah, we've been looking forward to it all week, so let's get kind of started with it. Sarah, you've been in a lot of contact with Dave and his assistant. Why don't you start it off for us?
Sure. Well, again, thank you for coming. I know you primarily reside in the Boulder County world, correct?
Correct. Travel all over the country, but yeah, that's what I call home.
Yes.
It's a beautiful area.
Yeah. Well, I had the pleasure of meeting you, before the new year. And I was so blown away, honestly, at your education and knowledge of the cyber world. To me, it is so above my head that I took copious notes and tried to regurgitate, which I did poorly, I might say. And you are definitely an expert in the field. So I'm curious, walk us through. I love where you're from, too. The accent is beautiful.
Where are you from?
Yeah, South Africa originally. Most people think either Australia or England, but I've had multiple countries all over the place and multiple pronunciations of my last name. It's a game, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So we have a good time. But from South Africa, moved to the United States probably around about 15, 16 years ago, actually. Got here, realized and learned very, very quickly that pretty much everything I'd done in my past life was null and void. It did not count in the United States environment. So I pretty much had to go back and redo everything.
Right. And you went back to school, like the whole 9 yards, right?
Went back to school, done multiple certifications through obviously civilian entities, through the military, through Department of Defense, you name it, I've probably done it. So yeah, and I looked at a lot of folks, and especially a lot of college students coming out of school. A lot of folks want to just get their degree and move on into some sort of job, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that, right? I didn't want that. I wanted a little bit more, and I wanted to make sure that I really positioned myself in a place where I knew what I was doing, no matter where I went and what I was doing in the workforce. So that was the driving force, and now I am here where I am.
Right. Well, and you said when you moved that it kind of became null and void. Were you in the cybersecurity world in South Africa as well?
No, I worked for the government in covert ops. And so during that time, I discovered my love for technology. So I got to play with a bunch of cool toys.
Nice.
And actually, while in South Africa, I actually started a side business doing CCTV surveillance, considering that's what I was in a large portion of the time. And it just took off from there. And this was way before cybersecurity was even a thing, right? Now we're talking AI. Everyone's just learning AI, so that's a whole new world. But back then, cybersecurity wasn't even talked about. So that was the birth of cybersecurity. Got into it, and I really wanted to get into it. And like a lot of students I speak to nowadays, everyone wants to go into what we call penetration testing. And, penetration testing is like what you see on the movies. The hackers, they're getting into all of these machines and they're going to steal all this stuff. And the truth is that penetration testing is not all that. A lot of it is actual administrative work. So those are the kind of things that I learned going into this, is that it's not all the technical stuff. There's a lot of paperwork behind those things. And that changed my mind very, very quickly. I did not want to be sitting behind a desk just typing out reports all day long. Now I do that anyway, but back then that was not the case at all. So that's kind of how my career kind of took off. I have a bit of a medical background as well. I've done a lot, so it's been all over the place, and technology, medicine, and military. That's been pretty much my dominant career.
And when you moved here 16 years ago, you moved to Colorado, correct? Or
No,
were you,
I
you were in
did
a
not.
different state?
I actually moved to Philadelphia, New Jersey, Philadelphia region,
Okay.
and I was actually couldn't get a job, to be honest with you, because I essentially had no certifications, qualifications. So I was a diving instructor. And
Like scuba diving?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Okay.
So I worked in the Middle East. I developed the emergency services for the main waterfront. So I trained the entire lifeguard contingent on the main ocean front.
Wow.
I've done a lot of rescue diver training on the oceans, which obviously involves scuba as well. So I've done that. And so a lot of my medical background comes in there. And then that's where I met my wife. And she's from Jersey, and we came over to Jersey, or there to Jersey. Here's Colorado, right? Went over to Jersey, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like no matter anything that I looked at was you have to have American certifications, and I hear it all the time now. You know, you hear doctors coming over from other countries, and they have to go and do their doctorate all over again. You know, we can talk for hours and hours of why that is, but that's not the case. And so I had to really consider what it is that I wanted to do, and I really had to think about, was this something that I wanted to do? And I decided to, as per se, take the bull by the horns, and I took on the challenge, and I just went for the next 6-7 years. I just pushed every single bit of study I could into it. A lot of it was repeat knowledge, obviously, just interpreted in a different way. So I had to relearn that and then get certifications. I joined the military. I was a combat medic in the military.
Wow.
And I'm still in the military. So I've been in the military for 12 years now. And I've moved to various places through the military as well. And then through that, I've done a lot of certifications and technical certifications through Department of Defense and obviously through the military as well. And now I am where I am, and now today I own my own business. So that's a very highlight of it.
Wow. To say you're ambitious and a driven individual is the understatement of the year. That's amazing.
I look at a lot of people, especially young people, and everyone has their own opinions, which is great. I think it's how you look at the world. It's not about what people can do for you, and it's not about what you can get from people. I think you as an individual, what impression you leave on whether it's your kids or your friends or your parents, whoever it is, right? The impression you leave is what's going to make the difference. And I did not want to be a person where I was dependent on, one, the American society first and foremost. Secondly, anyone. I wanted to be independent myself, which is what I strive to be. And I knew that the only way that was going to happen is if I pushed myself beyond what I thought I was capable of. And I think a lot of people miss that. I think a lot of people doubt whether they can actually do it. And the truth is, you're never going to know until you try.
That is so true. We have a very common theme when people sit on that couch. It's jump out of the pan into the fire, because you never know until you try. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that, I want to do this, and then they never jump. So it's, you're such a good role model to children. I think about that too. I have one child as well that's 6, and it's, what am I really teaching this child? You have the fundamentals, but it's, what type of person do you want to be? And how are you going to go get what you want? And I love that you say the word independent, because I think a lot of us in society are dependent on other people, especially from the financial side of things.
Sure.
It's to go get what you want and work your ever-loving butt off. So I really admire those qualities.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a trip.
Yeah, for sure.
To say the least.
Of course, life is a crazy journey.
What got you very interested in cyber security, computers, IT stuff? What really drove that?
Honestly, the plain and simple, and there's no big answer here. It's the tech side of it. It's the little gadgets, it's the little toys and how they work. What kind of output you get from them, whether it's video or audio, and how you can manipulate that and just have fun with it. That was it. I remember back in South Africa, we actually caught some guy. He was in a restaurant, and he actually started pulling all the urinals off the bathroom walls. I don't know why. I really don't know why.
This is not the direction I thought I was going
I
to go.
know, right? It's like, so, and that was like, wow. One, people are weird, first and foremost.
Which is why I love society.
I know, right? And it's like, so, and I realized that, just that component of tech, what it can actually do. And that was back then. I mean, I'm talking 17, 18, 19 years ago, probably a bit longer than that, to be honest with you. But now we are where we are today. And, Sarah, you and I were discussing it the other day. AI is like, it's blowing everyone away. So, to answer your question is, if you look at where we were to where we are and how tech is advancing, and yes, it can be very overwhelming for anyone, right? And not even just tech guys, because sometimes tech guys don't even know how to work this stuff. But it can be very overwhelming. But for me, my passion is like, how does this actually work?
Right.
What can it do? How can I break it? And a lot of developers, a lot of hackers, especially penetration testers, they actually try to break systems to see how it works. So when I got into the whole tech field, the cyber field, I actually I have ransomware, and I used to reverse engineer ransomware, and I actually try to break it down to see how it works and how it encrypts things. So I have a lot of malware that I play around with. A lot of cybersecurity guys do have those, and they play with them in secure environments to actually see what they do, and that's how we get a lot of defenses for our technology stacks nowadays. And that's fun. It's very time consuming, but it's fun. And as a business, not as a tech business, but like businesses out in the American public, is they don't have the time for that. They have margins to meet. They have revenue. They have staff to pay. They have a business to run. They don't have time to start playing around with things like that, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's where the whole tech side comes into it. And that's, in America, we all know there's a huge cybersecurity shortage. We know that, and it's going to get bigger. And what happens is that when you have a shortage like that, the demand goes up, prices go up, and then new developments come out like AI, and now you're looking for AI experts to try to figure out what the heck do we do with AI, and then you start all over again. It's like rinse, repeat, wash, right? And I'm sure it happens in a lot of different industries, but tech is a driving force. There was a talk I'd done in, where was it? Phoenix, about 2 months ago. And it was about the bottom line in business. Now, for accountants, we know the bottom line is profit minus expenses equals what you turn out with, right? It's a purely financial transaction. That's how accountants look at it. But when you're a business owner, the bottom line is way more than that. It's about, okay, what am I doing to encourage the business, to make the business survive? But in addition to that, what am I doing to drive innovation with my staff? Because let's face it, right? Your staff is the driving force of your company. You are there as a leader, and as a business owner, you are there to guide them to excel. And if you're not doing that, well, that's your decision, but that's probably a problem. And if you are doing that, are your staff happy?
Right.
I mean, the answer can go on forever and ever. That's that's up to each individual there.
Well, go ahead.
Oh no, I was actually just going to say, yeah, I mean, everything Sarah stated is just like way beyond my knowledge, which, as you said, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And one thing that I've heard a lot, speaking about small business owners, is, I don't need to worry myself with that stuff. I have a simple business.
Sure.
Very simple business. I don't need to concern myself with cyber tech or cybersecurity or anything like that. But it's that line is being pushed more and more and more each year that goes, just because it's becoming such a huge part of our world and our business. What is really just the simplest thing just a basic business can do just to ensure that they are doing what they need to?
You can't really ask that question because every business is different, and there are different regulations for different types of businesses. So I'm going to use you as an example based on what you said, is when you say you're not concerned about that, If I'm a hacker and I'm targeting you, I don't care about you. I care about who you're in contact with. Because if I can hack you, I could potentially get to them. Very, very common hack tactic that hackers use is they hack an individual. So you, for example, okay? If I can get into your email, I can send phishing scams to every single one of your contacts who are probably business owners and have them click on stuff, and you are the catalyst for that entire thing. So when you say it doesn't apply to you, it does.
Right.
And that honestly is one of the big things that a lot of companies neglect. It's not always about you. It's about you just being the channel to get to somebody else. And attorneys and accountants actually, for the last 7-8 months, they are being bombarded with attacks. And I'm being bombarded.
Oh, I bet.
Yes. Some of my clients, I'm pretty strict with my clients, and I train my clients that, if you get something suspicious or even potentially malicious, just send it to us and let us have a look at it. Rather take the 5 minutes where we're just analyzing it than have to deal with something more severe. And probably about 70% of everything they send us is because of a hacked accountant or a hacked attorney. And those email accounts are just spreading phishing scams all over the place. And honestly, I call them up. I call those companies up and I say, hey, are you guys aware of this? Most of the times they don't even know.
Right.
So again, a hacker may not care about you, but they care about who you're in contact with.
And you say emails a lot. Is that the main phishing that you see? And I want to kind of get into cell phones too, because that's starting to become a big thing. But, it's kind of funny how, you get these emails and some of them are just hilarious.
Sure.
I mean, the spelling, the weird lettering, the, logos, everything is just like, yeah, this is dumb. But they're getting better at it. It's probably just, some person's new at it and some person's very good at it.
They're just becoming more creative,
exactly.
too.
And you get it from, as you said, businesses don't even know. I mean, people get it from Amazon all the time, from, these big multi, corporations. So, yeah, how big is the email phishing, and what is the best way, things to look for if you're saying, is this legit?
Sure. So there's a lot of questions in that one question, right?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem at all. So if you look back, say 6 years, the primary method of attacking a company was through their network. That was the primary method. Hackers are not dumb. They are extremely intelligent. So they came up with, and when I say I'm talking collectively amongst the general world, right? So they came up with this idea of now if we can attack an individual, because the networks got protected. Everyone put in firewalls. Everyone had defenses around the network, which is great. But no one was protecting the end user. Now we're looking in 2025, how many people work from remote, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone at some point in time. Yeah. So those users, whether you're going to an airport or whether you're going to another country, those users are the gateways to their entire corporations. So what are you doing to protect the end user, your employees? Some people are doing nothing. Some people are doing a lot. Some people are required to do more than anyone else because of regulation.
Right.
So that's how the kind of trajectory has moved. Then you come into the question of phishing. Now, phishing for the last couple of years has been the primary attack method. Because if I can phish you, then I can get into your emails. I can get into, if you have Google Drive or whether it's OneDrive, whatever it is, if you have that, I can access all your documents. I can even lock you out of your account. And then I can just send as many emails as I want to every single one of your contacts. Now, what is phishing? A lot of people know what phishing is. A lot of people think they know what phishing is. And a lot of people just, quite frankly, don't care. And that's okay. But phishing essentially is you getting one of those Amazon emails that you mentioned, and it says, please click here, your Amazon package is going to be delivered tomorrow, but we need to verify your address.
Right.
And you say, okay, great, and I need that package. I go click on it, and you log into this really cool site that looks like Amazon, and now the hacker has all your credentials.
That's exactly what happened to me. It's exactly, except mine was a text. I know. Thank you for laughing. I appreciate it.
And that's amazing that it's even text now instead of emails.
Mine was a text.
Yeah. So, and So that was email, yours is text. I'll tell you a story about that in a second. There's some cool things there. So then you move on to what is now the most common source of revenue for hackers, and it's ransomware. So hackers use ransomware combined with phishing. So you send an email with a link, like you, Sarah. You click on that link. If it was on your computer, you go, that link has a malicious website. It automatically downloads ransomware to your computer, infects all your files, and now you're in the situation. And listen, the stories can go on and on and on. You just look in the news for the latest ransomware attacks, and you'll hear of cities. Atlantic City, a few years ago, they paid $1.2 million to a hacker. You're giving me a really shocked look right now.
I kind of am.
Yeah, it happens, and medical institutions, you name it. Ransomware is the leading cyber attack, and it has been for the last 2 or 3 years now. And honestly, it pays.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. It pays, and then we get into an ethical question like, what should we do about ransomware? The bottom line is if everyone actually done something to prevent ransomware, it would decrease. Okay. Now people say, well, don't pay ransoms. I mean, that's your choice. Obviously every law enforcement agency is going to say don't pay it.
Right.
But honestly, in reality, if you got hit with ransomware and all your data was encrypted and you don't have backups, what are you going to do? It's easy for someone to say to you, don't pay it. But if you're a company who has not taken measures to protect yourself, what choice do you have? Mm-hmm. You have to pay it. I remember a few years ago, I was actually out on a hike with some friends of mine, and I got a call from one of my clients, and one of her friends, she asked me if she could give my number to one of her friends. I said, yeah, not a problem. And I got a call from this lady, and she was in tears, and she said that she had just been hacked and hit with ransomware. And she gave me the whole story. And I'm on the side of a mountain here. And I'm talking to her while I'm hiking up this mountain. And she's telling me that, all her social accounts are gone. All her data is gone. She just wants to pay the hacker. So I said, that's your choice. I mean, I'm not telling you to do that. That's entirely your choice. You don't know who the hacker is. You don't know if they're going to pay you back. 99% of the times they do, because they want to maintain that reputation.
Of course.
Exactly, right? If everyone knew that ransom hackers would not give your data back, no one would pay them. So when you pay them, they give it back, because that's now the reputation they built.
Well, yeah.
So it's an ethical hacker.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it? Yeah. Is it? I don't know about that, but is it? So anyway, this lady, she said she's going to pay. I said, okay. And so the hacker wants Bitcoin, because was at that point in time practically untraceable. Mm-hmm. And she said, I didn't even know what Bitcoin is. So I said, okay, well, it's a cryptocurrency. So now we're going to someone who's just been hit with ransomware and is now being told to pay by a cryptocurrency she's never even heard of. So you're dealing with a lot of folks that just don't know what to do. So coming back to your original question, what can companies do, is speak to someone. I mean, I'm just one tech guy in this entire world, right? I mean, there's thousands of us. Just speak to someone and say, this is my situation. What do you recommend we do? And move on from there. Even if you just reach out to someone and say, hey, I just need some advice. I get phone from college students out at CU all the time. And they always ask me, I need a bit of guidance. What is your experience? And I'm happy to talk to those kids. And but honestly, companies should be doing that more. Whether they do or not, that's their decision. But they should be doing it.
What I find sometimes confusing, as someone who knows very, very little, is there's so many different antivirus protections out there, so many different programs that you can download and there are thankfully a lot of people in your industry, but what I find is everyone loves a different program and different software. So when someone like me who knows nothing, how do you navigate that? So if I reach out to 5 different people, I'm going to receive different information across the board.
5 different recommendations.
So how do we as novices navigate that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And a lot of it is personal opinion. My personal opinion is that what I see, a lot of companies... Let me go back one step. And I'll explain this. So technology in a company is a non-profit department. Companies do not make any revenue of technology. It is all a 100% expense. Okay. Now, the expense, depending on the kind of company you have, may be really large or it could be really small. It just depends on the company. When you hire a tech person, you got to make that up somehow, right? So what companies do is they cut down on the expenses with technology. What I mean by that is a lot of companies will go to the local Best Buy and buy something off the shelf. Okay. For your home computer, okay, sure. For your company, absolutely not. You got to think of it as, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, is honestly when you're dealing with antivirus, cost matters. And if you're going to pay for something that's going to cost you $30, you're going to get something that's $30. You know, I do not work with any retail antivirus, which is what you'd get out of Best Buy or Target or wherever, like a local retail store. I don't do any of that. I only deal with enterprise equipment. There are 3 leading antivirus programs in the United States.
Okay.
One is Sentinel-1, one is CrowdStrike, and one is Carbon Black. Now, does that mean that they are 100% proof against any cyber attack? Absolutely not. And anyone who says that they're 100% defended, that is not true. Hackers are smart, and they will figure out a way around those things, and they do. You take the CrowdStrike incident that happened a while ago. It was not a hack, but it was an update that pretty much broke systems, and they were down. So it wasn't a hack, but they have problems, and they go through development cycles, and we're talking big companies now, right? But those 3 are the leading in the United States. Carbon Black is actually based out of Boulder, where I am, to be honest with you. Those are programs that you can't buy off the shelf. You have to go through an IT provider to get something like that because they are technically advanced. So, for example, I brought on a new client about 2 months ago, and they have 2 locations, one in North Carolina, one in California. And we loaded the antivirus on this company's system, and they've never had any antivirus. And we're talking a $30 million company here, and they had about 152 viruses on the system. Now, for someone to go work through all those things, to quarantine them, to analyze them, takes one time. Time is a cost because as a company, your department's not getting that back. It's outgoing expenses, right? So they have to cut back on other areas, and often that comes down to we're going to cut back on technology, or we're going to cut back on travel, or we're going to cut back on whatever it is. They have to cut back somewhere. So that's generally how it works. So coming back to your other question there, Sarah, is how does a company who's never had to deal with this, let me ask you this. If you go to Amazon and you want to buy, I don't know, let's say you want to buy something pretty cool, and it's expensive, right? Are you going to look at the reviews?
Yes.
Yeah, right? You'll be surprised how many people don't.
Oh, I do. Because, especially on Google, if you type in, I want to go buy diapers, for example, you have all these things that are sponsored. So I absolutely look at reviews, but I also read the reviews.
Well, yeah.
And I digest who is writing this, how long ago, what are their other reviews consist of, and then I can kind of paint a picture, and then I talk to other people, like actual individuals, because I know it could be anyone writing a review.
Sure.
It could be a disgruntled someone. They could be paying someone to write it. So, I mean, it's to really evaluate, especially if I'm spending money.
Exactly.
If it's a $2 doodad for my kiddo, I don't care. It's going to break tomorrow anyway. So, but yeah, if you're investing the time and the money, then yes, I would recommend people take the time.
So just do a simple review, and if a company is promoting a product that is super popular, there's going to be reviews on it.
Right.
Now, in the tech world, when we evaluate products, software, a lot of times we will get trial runs of that software, and we'll put it into a lab environment where we see what it does, see what it's going to break, see if we can break it. I do that all the time, and we play with it. I remember many years ago, I was working for Jefferson County, And I was helping them out of a few things, and I took about 4 or 5 antivirus programs and we put it into a simulated lab environment, and I threw malware at it to see which program was going to perform better. That's what we do as tech, and that's how we kind of evaluate things. But again, as a company, you need someone to do that for you, because, like you said, you're not going to be able to do that yourself unless you're really technically minded. And you get some people who do play with that, and that's great. That's awesome. But a lot of folks just don't have the time. They're stressed about their work. They're trying to build a company, and now they're looking for an expert to help. And that's where you start reaching out to folks like myself.
So you had mentioned the new client. I know that's, from my understanding, that seems like a bigger, larger client. For someone that's pulling in a lot less money, are those still the 3 best options? If a brand new company is out and they make 10,000 or they make 100,000, are those still the 3 top programs that you would recommend?
Yeah, so it comes down to the number of devices you have running through your environment, right? So the more devices, the higher the cost, obviously. Yes, I absolutely recommend those. And the reason why, I'll tell you this, the reason why is because you got to evaluate the cost of something happening versus the cost of actually defending against it. Now, insurance plays a part in this as well, right? So if you're a company who does not have cyber insurance, you're wrong.
Okay.
You need to have that just to protect yourself. I heard we partner with an insurance agent in Denver, and I actually had lunch with him the other day, and he was telling me this one company got hit with ransomware. They did not have insurance, and their saving grace was that, and I'm talking about a tech, like a MSP, like myself, a tech provider. So their client got hit with ransomware, and they tried to sue this tech provider. That tech provider's saving grace was that their client sent them an email saying they didn't want this coverage, and he said, "Okay, not a problem." Company got hit, and their insurance had to now get involved. So luckily, don't know the specifics, but luckily they paid. But a lot of people think I'm just a small company; it's not going to happen to me. You're wrong. It's a matter of time. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And it may not be a huge major breach. It may just be something small where, now your cell phone, the codes you get to your cell phone, those are now being rerouted to somebody else's cell phone. That happens all the time. All the time.
And that's kind of what's nuts. Well, first, when you say it depends on how many devices, I mean, are you including cell phones too? If you have your work email.
Cell phones are still new in the entire cybersecurity space. So if you go to like your Apple Store or your Google Store, you'll see lots of programs that are going to say phone security.
Yeah, exactly.
And the truth is that all of those, what they do is they put a VPN tunnel, an encrypted tunnel, so the traffic from your phone to wherever you're going to is encrypted. It's not a true defense on your phone. There are probably 2 or 3 programs that actually do defend your phone. And Sentinel-1, which is one I mentioned earlier on, they have a phone application that actually does defend your phone. Like I have it on my phone as well. So what I do is, like, every time I get an email, I don't usually click on malicious things, but I get a lot of those emails. So what I do is I actually copy that link, I put it into the phone antivirus, and I analyze it. And it tells me right there and then, it takes me a couple of seconds, is it good or bad? And then if I want to analyze it a bit more, then I can do that. So phones are a bit tricky. I'm not going to lie, they are a bit tricky, but there are 2 or 3 programs that will do it, yes.
Just definitely, you don't recommend any free software, free antivirus for personals, your cell phones, your business, really?
Well, so, that's also a hard question, right? You've got to think of new companies who are starting, and there's lots of them. They rely on free stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they build.
Especially their first 2 years of being a business, your bottom line is, cash is king. So
exactly right. So you got to use what resources you have to build your revenue to expand. And like we've all done, even when I started my company, I looked at free software, which is fine. You can look at free software, but then you need to have at least a paid antivirus program in that you can scan that software.
Right.
So anytime I want to look at new software, I download it into an external hard drive. I don't download it onto my main computer drive, external hard drive, and then I actually scan it and I see what it does. That's fine. You're taking precautions to actually see if something's going to happen.
Right.
And maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Who knows, right? There's so many thousands of pieces of software out there that who knows. I will say this though. If you are a company who is starting out and you're looking for free software, you'll often find videos on YouTube, and then below that it'll say download your free version here in the comments box. Please don't do that. All right.
It's kind of like emails. Don't ever click on a link inside of an
There
email.
you go,
It's
right?
just-
Same
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
As back in the days of hacking, you put those links, you upload that, I don't know, let's just call it Addo Reader for argument's sake. You put that somewhere, and in WinZip, which is a Windows program, right? You can actually WinZip that file and put an encryption key on it, so antivirus can't see it. And then when you click on it, there's a script that runs that decrypts it and then runs the program. So there are ways around that. You need to be careful with free software. You really, really do. I do find that there are places that you can buy software, and that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's really, really not. It's just a matter of either speaking to someone who knows or doing a bit of research.
Well, you had, to segue, I wanted to, because this is so big in our world now, is AI. To me, and I've felt this way about technology and social media for my entire life. It's such a necessary evil. It's wonderful in a business capacity. I mean, you get to network and discover so many things that you'd never know about, but it's such an exposed world. And I find the same thing with AI. What is your feeling on AI generally? What are ways that we can use it successfully as a tool on maybe a personal level, but also a business level? Yeah.
Sure. So I think when you mention AI, everyone thinks of ChatGPT, right?
Thinks of
That's
what?
ChatGPT.
Okay.
That is like the AI tool that kind of launched the entire AI world.
It's a wonderful time saver, but
I know, right?
I have to, I always call it, like Cliff Notes back in school.
There you go, right?
I'm not going to read all of Romeo and Juliet. I'm going to read like the 2 pages that I need.
Just summarize it for me so I can spit it
Yes,
back out, right?
Exactly.
All right. So AI, yes, brand new era we're in right now. And the simple truth is there are very, very, very few experts on AI. Because it is advancing so quickly and it is growing and it is changing, people are trying to catch up with it. And what's happening is I'm sure you've seen it yourself, Sarah, we spoke about this the other day, you're seeing companies pop up saying AI this, AI that, AI that, and now it's like you're leaving the business owners like, what do I do? Like, where do I go? What do I do? What's going to work? There's a lot of ethical considerations with AI as well, and there's been conferences for the last 2 years about ethical considerations with AI and what's it doing. And a lot of people have different opinions, right? But the bottom line is that AI can help your business. That is it. Now, what you do with it, that's a different story. I will say this. If you are a company that is using AI, do not put your personal information in AI. If you are asking it questions about, let's say, your company's ABC manufacturing, don't put your company name in that search query because AI is considered public. It's a public domain. So when you start putting your company and proprietary information into that, AI is going to take it and learn from it and use it. Now, obviously, we have Google. Google's the big elephant in the room, right? Okay. So AI tools. There are a lot. Everyone knows ChatGPT or is starting to explore ChatGPT. Great tool that you can use for various things. There are image designing tools. There is content designing tools. There are social media tools. The list goes on and on and on. Sarah, you and I spoke the other day, and we were talking about marketing. Because marketing is the forefront of a lot of businesses. You need to develop brand and you need to get awareness for your products and services, right? How do you do that? That's marketing. which is why marketing is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So what you find nowadays is that how do you get your brand, your product or service in front of your audience? Because your audience is being bombarded by everyone, all right?
Yeah.
Time becomes a factor and skill becomes a factor. So you, let's say the old ways of doing it is you hire a graphic designer to design a picture. Then you have someone who does your social content. They come together, they put it in, they create a social post, and it goes out in a week or two. That's kind of the old way of doing it. The new way now is people go into AI programs, they develop an AI image in about 2 or 3 minutes, if not less. And then you go to ChatGPT, you say create a social post based on XYZ, and it spits out a social post, you review it, and you post it. It takes you 5 minutes. The problem with that is that a lot of folks are using AI and they're posting these things, but they're not reviewing what is being posted. So if that is you, you're wrong. You need to review everything that AI puts out. Because at the end of the day, you as a business, that is your brand.
Right.
And if you're using AI, which is fine, but if you're not reviewing the message that it's delivering, you are doing more damage than good. So just simple, just review the message that is being delivered. It's as simple as that. Now, let's go into, this is the fun part. All right. So you and I were chatting the other day and we were talking about marketing. And you were saying like you do the marketing. So, and if you don't mind sharing, like how long does it take you to do a marketing concept?
A long time. It can be weeks. I mean, when we all get together and brainstorm about, hey, let's throw this up on the wall and see if it sticks. You know, it's us brainstorming, which can be hours upon weeks upon end to come up with new ideas, new strategies, new opportunities, new outreaches, new networking, new logos. I mean, that can be very time consuming.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about actually, you know, not counting in the brainstorming about it, putting the ideas together, but actually just executing it. Is that what you're talking about? Because that could be, you know, a couple minutes to an hour.
Even thinking about like you do flyers for us, which are amazing. They're so creative, but that's time consuming.
Yes.
Even to create the beautiful logo above us, it's how do we want this to look? I mean, that did not take 5 minutes.
Right.
So, I mean, yes, it can be very time consuming. Marketing campaigns, you know,
I know, right?
there are industries built on this that
Exactly,
take
right?
years.
And so it is time consuming, but you're forgetting one component is there's two of you, right? A lot of companies have no one.
Right.
Or other companies have a whole team of 30 people who do this, right?
Sure. Then they get nothing done.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Those are companies that have ping pong tables in there.
Exactly.
I hope they're not listening.
It's all good. I worked for one. That's okay. You're forgetting the keg in the corner too.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta
And then
love
you
it.
throw in the lunches and, you know, that's all
Yes.
money that goes out the door.
Of course.
All right. So now how can we use AI to kind of streamline this process? So I showed you a tool the other day that you can actually type in a query. So let's say chat's happening in, I'm going to use technology because that's what we're talking about, right? Latest technology chats on this tool, and it spits out what people are talking about. It tells you, you know, what the general consensus is, pros and cons about that particular topic, and you can choose whatever topic. And you saw it gave you quite a bit of information, right? Just from that, you can immediately come up with a marketing idea, which would have taken you maybe 5 minutes or maybe 2 weeks, I don't know. And then what we done then with you, Sarah, is we took that and we threw it into ChatGPT and we said, create a marketing campaign on this. And it gave you a whole bunch of ideas. Now, I'm not saying you have to use any of that. And I'm not saying you should use all of that. I'm just saying it gives you ideas. You know, you still need that human component.
Right.
You still need that human element to determine if that is where you want to go. But it gave you that. So just that step in using AI has taken your entire marketing vision from what you said, 2-3 weeks, down to 5-10 minutes. And then you come together. And if you don't like it, you redo it and you come up with another idea. What does that mean for your company? One, you're saving a heck of a lot of time.
Right.
Okay. Two, you're now giving your staff new tools and new ideas that they can start to explore and develop their skills. That is the big one. And if you as a business owner can give your staff the tools to develop their skills, they will stay with you. That is it. You know, there's a lot of companies out there, and I see it because I work with a lot of these companies who say you have to do it this way, you cannot change, and that's been like that for years. And so what you get is a lot of people get frustrated because it becomes mundane. It's like, oh, I have to go back and do this all over again. But then you bring just one little tool in that says, oh, and it's like, oh, wow, this just changed my world. And I've heard that time and time again. It's like, this has literally just changed my life. And it takes 5 minutes. That's all it does.
And I really like that idea because, yeah, it can give you a lot of ideas that would take you a long time to think up, to research, to do everything. So I like the whole idea of using it as a tool instead of your whole machine aspect of it. Are there, I mean, when it comes to AI, just because it's so new and out there, a lot of people don't even know how to even get to it, how to get to these tools. And that's another thing is what AI tools are out there. How do you know to trust those tools and what information you put in there?
Exactly. So like I said earlier on, if you're going to use AI, it doesn't matter what you use. If you're going to use AI, you have to review what it's giving you back.
And do not be specific about your company,
About your personal
about your
data.
person. Okay.
Yeah, if
About
you
your-
want to be specific about like what's happening with Microsoft, sure, throw it in there because I mean that's not you. But you're not going to say, how do I reduce my tax credit or how do I increase my tax credit and give? You're not going to put that personal information in there because that's you just don't want to do that. That's
Right.
like just giving everything away. But you know, general things that are already public knowledge, sure, absolutely, go ask, not a problem. And honestly, it's like anything. It's like riding a bicycle. You're not going to know until you try.
Right.
Just give it a shot. Now the big question comes is, am I going to have to pay for it?
That is a big question. Yep.
Yeah.
And how much?
Yeah.
And how much, right? So there are a number of tools that you do not have to pay for, and there are a number of tools you do have to pay for. Some are very, very expensive, and some are not. Now, whatever you decide to do, I will encourage this. If you are going to sign up for an AI tool, please do not use your real email address. All right? Because what happens is you're putting your email, you're putting your first name, last name. If you have a credit card, you kind of have to because you have to pay for it if you want to pay for something like that. But if you're going to sign
Put
up
in
for,
someone else's credit card.
there you go. Right? it's the one that we just hacked from your computer. right?
Exactly.
So if you're going to use a free tool, just go online. There's if you Google 10-minute mail online, there's lots of different websites there, and what it does, it gives you an email for 10 minutes, and then that email gets destroyed. Yeah.
All right.
So whenever I test software, I always use that. I always use those emails because I don't want those software agencies to now try and spam me or sell my information. So
Right.
I always do that. Just get one of those emails, throw it into the AI tool, register that email address, save the email, obviously, right? Because once it's gone, it's gone. You're not going to get it back. And then play with the tool. Now, if you're going to go to a purchased version, you're going to have to put your first name in because then you start dealing with credit card regulations, right? And then you can play with it that way. I always say to everyone who asks me, give it a test run. It's like you're buying a car. You're not just going to walk in and just buy a car straight away. You're going to take it for a test drive and see if it's got an oil leak here or there. Nothing's different when you start dealing with software that you have to pay for. Take it for a test run. So AI tools, the world is caught onto this whole AI growth, if you want to call it that. And everyone is claiming AI can do this for you, and they have this new AI program. And there are a lot of really good programs. I'm not going to lie, there really are. There are a lot of programs that are not really good. Me personally, I use a few different AI programs. One of the AI programs I use is Grammarly. Now, there's a free version and a paid version. I use the free version. And you can register, but besides for the AI component, it checks grammar. So if you have a content writer, and a lot of companies outsource content writers to like the Philippines or international countries. So you use Grammarly and it actually looks at your English grammar and corrects anything it needs to correct. Again, you have to review it, but you can use Grammarly. But Grammarly has an AI component built into it. So if I have this whole paragraph talking about music, okay, And I don't talk a lot about music because I don't know a lot about music. But if I'm doing this and I need to rewrite that paragraph into a professional tone or a funny tone, Grammarly has a company. You just click on it and automatically rewrites that for you into whatever tone you want and fixes all those typos and grammar errors, etc., etc. Like, that is free. Anyone can do that. Whether you're a marketer, whether you're a CEO, anyone can do that. But the cool thing about that Grammarly, actually, and I'm not trying to promote Grammarly here, but Grammarly also has a Windows component where you can actually integrate it into Microsoft Word, into your email. So if you have typos in your emails or Word documents, it actually shows you and you can correct it straight away. The old days, that wasn't there, so you had to go back. You had to have an editor who now had to edit everything, and that takes another 2 weeks, etc., etc. This does it on the fly, so one, you're saving time, you're saving money, and you're getting it out, because in the world of marketing, content is king.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get your content out before anybody else, you get more eyes on you. That's the bottom line. So a lot of folks bring in tech guys to come do all this for them, and a lot of tech guys can do it, some can't. But you don't need a tech guy for that. You just go register yourself, install it, and off you go. I mean, again, like I said, play with it.
Right.
Give it a test run. And if you don't like it, take it off. Obviously, we're talking about the downloading software and everything, right?
Yep.
Grammarly is a reputable source. So if you go to the correct Grammarly site, you'll be fine. Just make sure it's the correct one. When you are searching for things online, if you go to Google and you search for AI tools, the first couple of results are going to be sponsored. So those are all ads, right?
Right.
Anyone I speak to, I say, just ignore those. Just go past those and you'll start getting the real results. Because sometimes hackers do put ads up.
Mm-hmm.
And put this up and off you go. So that would be my advice for that part, yeah.
We do. We don't have too much time left, but there was a question that came in that came from our video audio guy that said someone is wondering about not business wise, but one target for a lot of hackers, a lot of phishers, a lot of that is the elderly. And what is the best, and I know we're going to get this too, is somebody that just says, I just want to be protected. I just use my cell phone or my computer for the most basic things, email, texting, stuff like that. One, is there certain types of programs that are just basic good for people like the elderly who don't really know what's going on, that can really help stop that? And two, what is the biggest advice that, if you had to just say, everybody who doesn't follow this stuff over this certain age, just remember this?
Again, a lot of questions on that. So you're not wrong. The elderly are prime targets. In the last probably 8 months, I've had about three daughters of the elderly call me. One lady lost her entire inheritance, about $600,000.
Oh my God.
And honestly, it was gone. They would never get that back.
That's crushing.
Yeah, it is. And it's really, really sad, right? And because you're right, they don't know.
Yeah.
So the question that you asked there, what can you do? Antivirus and phishing protection. That is the very first step. No matter whether you're a small business, an individual, elderly, young, whatever it is, antivirus on your system with phishing protection is the number one that you should do. And I do that for every single client I go to. That's the first step we go at. Because like I said, personal people and devices are now targets, irrelevant of who you are, where you're traveling. That is the target. Then another big one, and a lot of the elderly, they onto the whole email thing now. They have their own emails, which is cool because now they can email their kids back and forth and granddaughters, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. But what happens is that they have these emails, but they're not set up with the proper protections. And it's not hard. It takes 10 minutes to do, but multi-factor authentication on those accounts. Because what happens is, and this is what happened in that other situation I told you about, what happened is the hacker got into this old lady's email account to verify, because Wells Fargo sends out those codes, right? Sent it to this email, got the code, and the hacker had full access to the account. Now, if you have multi-factor authentication on their email account, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Well, let me go back there. It's not going to happen. It's going to be so much more difficult. And hackers are looking for easy targets. They don't want to have to fight over something like that. account.
Right.
So, all the daughters and sons and, grandchildren who actually look after the elderly, just go and activate multi-factor authentication on their email accounts. That is probably the next easiest thing that you can do. And then get a really good antivirus. If you're going to go buy antivirus from a retail store, get the most expensive one. And again, I'm not trying to say spend all your money. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that most times of those retail programs, the most expensive one gives you the most protections.
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Exactly.
Yeah. So those are probably the two first and very easiest things that you could do.
And are we in a day and age where pretty much you recommend everybody does two-factor authentication? Are we pretty much at that age now, at that point in the world?
We're probably there about 2-3 years ago, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. All
But
right.
places like Microsoft are actually enforcing it now. So if you have a business Microsoft account and you're an administrator, you are now required to.
Right.
When I set up my clients, I have a second administrator account, and I force it on them whether they like it or not. Doesn't matter if you're the owner of the company or not. I put it on.
Yeah.
And if they get locked out, then at least I'm their backup, or vice versa, right? But yes, no matter who, any administrator, if you're an administrator on an account, if you're not doing it, you're wrong.
I agree. Well, after I got hacked, all of everything is now texting, calling, email, because it's terrible. Someone can get in there for 5 minutes, and my world was rocked for about a year. So, I mean, it's devastating. So yeah, take the time, pay the money, and just protect yourself. And like you said, it's a couple easy steps. But I do think that, and I fell subject to this, and my background was finance and banking, so I felt a little like, I should have known better, but here we are. I think it's to know those steps, right? For those that are listening or going, well, I just have a cell phone, or, I do very little, because a lot of people don't do a whole lot. They do texting and emailing and thinking, I'm too small or insignificant to get hacked. That's what I hear at least a lot. And that's what I thought, to throw myself into that category. Thought I'm not important enough. They don't care. And boom, there I was. So they're just...
It's not about you.
Right.
It's about who you're connected to.
Right.
That's the simple truth. Cell phones, I don't know how much time we have left. If you need to stop me, just let me know.
No, finish your thought, definitely.
Cell phones are another big one, right?
Yeah.
So Apple, in one of the latest release software updates, if you haven't done it, you should probably do it relatively quick. But in DC area, for about 6 months ago, there's this major crime spree going on where folks would actually put facial recognition or their codes on their phones, and they'd have people in bars actually watching that. So what would happen is that they would actually go and steal those phones, put those codes in. What is on your Apple phone? It's your banking. It's all your your passwords. And what is actually protecting your Apple phone? A 4-digit PIN or a facial recognition, right? So a lot of these Apple phones are being stolen. And what would happen is that these hackers, really smart, I'm not going to lie, really, really smart, they would go into these Apple phones, they would change the Apple account password. So the user whose phone is not just being stolen, they locked out of their Apple account. Now, once that happens, and you get into the Apple account because Apple synchronizes everything, they can go do whatever they want. Pictures, messages, text messaging, you name it. You're locked out of it. So Apple released that update where if you are now changing a password on a phone, you have an hour delay. So if your phone is stolen, you have 1 hour to get into your account to make sure that password isn't changed, so no one can get into your photos, etc., etc., etc. Because you log into your banking, you get a text phone and your code, right? If I have your phone, then what?
Do you recommend doing the facial recognition?
Yes. Some people say no. I do recommend it. One, is it easier? Yes. A code. Anyone can see you put in a code.
Right.
All right, and you leave your phone there, but someone needs your physical face to actually get into your iPhone.
Exactly.
So it does have some higher protections. Now, there is AI technology which is now starting to generate facial recognition.
Yeah.
And that's causing a whole new disturbance in the cybersecurity world, right? Like I said, nothing is 100% secure, right?
Right.
It's, we're mitigating X, Y, Z to do the best defenses, and usually most times that's enough. Bottom line is hackers are always going to be here. And we as individuals and companies, we need to make sure that you're at least doing something.
Right.
And if you're not, and I like saying this, you're wrong.
Well, it is to discern, and it's making us even more on our toes.
Yeah.
You know, Scarlett Johansson, and this was, I think, 2 years ago, where her voice was stolen through
Yep.
AI technology. Same thing with, I believe, Obama. And I watched a video of the Queen of England, and man, it was her the whole time. And then she got up and started flying around the room. I'm like, this is a scary world. I mean, because it is. They've taken it to a whole new level, but it's to be a little more cautious and to protect yourself.
But you got to admit, that was pretty cool, right?
It was really cool to see
Yeah.
the Queen of England start
entertaining.
flying.
Exactly.
I mean, it was.
It's
Now
entertaining.
imagine
Yes.
using that in a real marketing campaign. Imagine what that's going to do for your business.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so true. It is a necessary
Pros and
tool.
cons, right?
Yep,
Welcome to
exactly.
my economic brain. Very much so.
Every technology is good and bad.
Exactly.
Depends on how you use it.
That is true.
Well, we've been speaking with Dave Jooste and Cyber Tech Connection. Check out their website, cybertechconnection.com. All their contact information and everything is in there. And, of course, primarily businesses, of course. But I love talking about the personal aspect of it, too, because it's not just business. So I've really enjoyed having you in here. I'd love to have you even in again in a little while, just because with this topic, there's so much we
Sure.
can talk about.
Yeah, it's
So.
forever changing. I mean, when I met with you, I was with you a few hours. Thank you for giving me that time, number one. And I was copious notes on my phone. I'm like, how do you do this? And what's my next question in AI and ChatGPT? What do you want me to say? And how? I mean, it's fascinating because it can be a very resourceful tool.
Yes.
For people to utilize. Huge time saver.
I'm happy to help. I hope you're using it.
Thank you. ChatGPT, I'm warming up.
Okay, there we go.
So,
Well, if you're just joining in or just caught the end of it, this interview will be on our YouTube page, K4CO Radio YouTube, probably within a few days. So make sure to check that and subscribe as well so that you're alerted when it is. Dave Jooste, Cyber Tech Connection, cybertechconnection.com. Thank you again very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
thanks,
definitely.
Dave.